No, no buzz. Just Bees Book Club. A little bit ago, I read Dear Cyborgs by Eugene Lim, a novel that didn't extremely stick with me in a weird way. Something I read probably in 2 sittings. Very broadly, it's about like the young love between two boys that until one of them disappears or moves away, and then the sort of narrator moving through his life, like his friends, that it's intercut with sort of near future or maybe slightly alternate history superhero adventures that are also just like engagements with the possibilities of overcoming capitalism and or active moments of protest and keep Occupy stuff. This is published, I think, in 2017, actually. And I really enjoyed reading it. Like I said, it kind of didn't stick with me, but in a weird way, it has. I'm going to try to describe right now. I think the phrase that's been battering around in my head since finishing this and trying to think about what it sort of meant to me as a reader is that I keep coming back to reading Pamela, a novel by Pamela Liu from Atelos Press that was published probably back in like 04, 05. I read it in 07, I want to say. So it might have been even closer to that. Atelos Press, edited by Lynn Hygenian, who passed away, one of my favorite poets to see live for the years I was poetry readings. And I got to sort of meet her a handful of times in her life, and that was very meaningful to me. But Pamela, a novel, was assigned in the first Asian American literature course that I took. And I took that course thinking that it was going to fulfill a gen ed requirement and to be other than that. It turned out to be the opposite of the case. Because first week we were like assigned, all 10 weeks we were assigned one book a week, choose between one of two books. And I remember buying all of the books, or at least half of them, just like up front, just like picking literally at random. And so the first week we read Louise Godsokay's. I'm mixing things up. I am definitely. I don't remember the author of it. Eat a Bowl of Tea was the title. And I read it, and it was very much sort of the first generation or second generation immigrant memoir told through fiction thing that was the entirety of my experience with any sort of minoritized literature prior to that class, basically. And I, being an arrogant and shitty white 17-year-old, was just like, yeah, this is what this is all going to be. I'm not going to be, not going to be pressed in any direction. I'm at the end of my freshman year of college. I'm like trying my best to devour Derrida and get into really experimental shit and just do whatever. And so I was kind of dismissive of it. And then the second novel I read, again, just having picked them at random, was Pamela, a novel by Pamela Liu, as mentioned, and it blew my fucking head open. It is a book that is about, working kind of like middle-class job-ish, but mostly it's about sort of trying to theorize one's way through a bunch of intersections, right? Before I certainly was aware of the idea of intersectionality. I was barely aware of there being a left-wing anything. Still the Bush years, speaking. I read that book and it made me go, oh, these buckets are important, meaning buckets meaning like something like Asian American literature, in certain ways, and are absolutely others, right? This was the most experimental thing I had ever read, and it was collected in a class where the thing prior was like, the most mainstream thing I read, and of course, part of this is being taught by Karen Yamashita, who was and is just a fantastic enthusiast for literature and for thinking through what it is that these buckets can do for us, and what they can't, and just generally like a very kind person who would actively think with the class whenever possible. It was a large class, so it wasn't active discussions. And I should say, I don't remember who was my section leader in that class the first time, because I then took that class every year, even though I didn't get credit for it after the first year, just because I so enjoyed it, and she changed it up every time. But I don't think it was Calvin. I'm blanking on the other main person name. But all to say, like, the labor that Karen put in designing and running the course, and the labor that the teaching assistant, the grad students who would run sections where we would like break out into smaller groups basically and talk once a week, all really helped me get over my frankly racist dismissive attitude that I came into the course with, but also Pamela, a novel specifically, like, kicked me right in the shins. And then, of course, the week after that, I read Dictee by Teresa Hawkins Shaw, and was like, oh, this is the best book I've ever read. I still think that might be true. It might be true. I'm not committed to it, but it might very well be true that Dictee is the best book I've ever read. I say all that to put Lim's Dear Cyborgs in a kind of context where I suspect if I was at the point in my life that I'm currently at and had never read Pamela Lou's Pamela, a Novel, it would be a thing I would sort of drink down in a couple sittings and think, man, that was really neat. Sometimes things just hit different at different points in your life. And I suspect I would still find a great joy in Pamela, a Novel, but I don't think that thing's been out of print for well over a decade, and I have not seen a copy since. I probably lent mine out to somebody at some point and it disappeared. I think I might actually. And then Pamela Lou wrote another novel, I want to say around like 2013, 2014. Something parking lot that I remember reading and thinking was very good, but now I'm off the point. Point being, the more I've thought about Dear Cyborgs, the more I feel like it could have had that slot in my life had I encountered it. Obviously, it was a decade before it was published, so that would not be possible. In terms of, biography and history, but it feels like a thing that, if read seriously in a context, could be like life changing. Yeah, that Pamela, a Novel, was literally life changing. It also feels like a thing that was like a really nice, whatever, 3 hours of my life spent in this world that is, you know, extremely readable, but also tackling some stuff pretty head on that you don't often see tackled in a lot of books, frankly. And I want to commend it for that and say that I think Dear Cyborgs by Eugene is a very, very good little novel that, you know, just didn't quite hit me in the way that I think it deserves to, maybe. Yeah. But, you know, we're all bees here, so you already knew all that anyway. Thanks for not watching.